We're going to replace the engine cooling system thermostat on a 2017 Suburban. Repair should only be performed by trained service personnel. This is the new thermostat. Make sure the thermostat has a new gasket installed. Either drain some of the coolant from the system or plan for a certain amount of coolant cleanup. This is the engine coolant thermostat. The thermostat regulates coolant flow through the engine in order to maintain optimum engine temperature. This is another view of the thermostat. Always disconnect the negative battery terminal when working on a vehicle. In this case, it's also required to clear any engine cooling system error codes so any repairs can be properly tested. Loosen the engine air filter hose clamp. Loosen the air intake manifold hose clamp. Remove one end of the driver's side PCV tubing. Note that the release or unlocking tab is on the bottom of this connector. Depress the unlocking tab before attempting to pull the connector off. It may be necessary to gently pry the connector off. Here you can more clearly see the unlocking or release tab. Remove one end of the passenger side PCV tubing. Note that the release or unlocking tab is on the top of this connector. Depress the unlocking tab before attempting to pull the connector off. Here you can more clearly see the unlocking or release tab. Pull the air intake hose box from the air intake manifold, and then lift it out of the way. Move the coolant hose out of the way. Either drain the coolant from the system or plan for a small amount of coolant cleanup. If the radiator hasn't been flushed in a long time, now would be a good time to do that. We're going to cover radiator drain and flush in another video, so for this video we're going to focus on cleanup. Pinch off the coolant hose to minimize the amount of coolant loss. Remove the radiator hose from the thermostat. Propping the radiator hose up will minimize the amount of coolant loss. As you can see, a very small amount of coolant was lost during this step. Loosen the clamp to the coolant hose. You can use a syringe, siphon hose, turkey baster, fluid pump, or some other instrument for removing excess coolant from the thermostat. Whatever you use, make sure you discard it so it doesn't come in contact with animals or humans and poison them. Remove the coolant hose and capture any remaining coolant. If you have a piece of hose or tubing, you can just use that to drain the excess coolant into a container. Use a 10mm socket to remove the 3 thermostat screws. Remove the old thermostat gasket if present. Clean the surface and install the new thermostat. Make sure the thermostat has a new gasket installed. Install the 3 thermostat screws. Tighten the 3 thermostat screws, being careful not to over-tighten, which can crack the thermostat housing. Install the coolant hose. Install the radiator hose. Remove any rags and clean up any spilled coolant. Unpinch the coolant hose. Reattach the coolant hose to the hose clip. Attach the air intake hose box to the air intake manifold. Attach the two PCV hoses and ensure that they are locked in place. Remember to depress the locking feature when inserting the connector. Tighten the air filter hose clamp. Tighten the air intake manifold hose clamp. Reconnect the negative battery terminal. Check the coolant level and replace any lost fluids. If using concentrate, make sure to dilute it with distilled water. Run the engine until it gets to normal temperature and check for any coolant leaks. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe.